In the age of information, we are inundated with news and opinion on our social media news feeds, on our televisions, and even in movies and during sporting events. Although we have access to so much information, as a society we've become more entrenched in our own beliefs and ideologies. And unfortunately, being open-minded has become more of a handicap rather than a virtue. One of the problems that we face is called confirmation bias. This means that we tend to look for things that feed into our already held beliefs. Because of this, we can easily be manipulated by news stories and even internet memes that reinforce our ideologies, even though much of it, at its best, is loaded with partiality, and at its worst, is completely fake. So how do we overcome this? Well, I have 7 things that I think we should look out for. The first is this: claims without supporting evidence. We learn pretty early on when we do a research paper in school that we need to have reliable sources to support our claims. Unfortunately, the mainstream media doesn't always abide by these standards. If a claim is made, make sure to listen for evidence to back it up. It shouldn't just be the experts say. Ask yourself, who are these so-called experts? If reliable and valid data is not offered, take whatever is being said with a grain of salt. Number 2, omission of important facts. We don't just have to look at what is being said, but also what is intentionally left out. The only way to truly guard against this is to read and watch multiple points of view on a topic, so that you know what is being communicated and also what is being obscured. Sometimes an entire story may be left out because it doesn't fit that particular media outlet's narrative. Number 3, emotional appeal. The media loves to manipulate our emotions. They know that if they can play on our feelings, they can control our mind. Suspend your emotional response when you're researching stories. This way you can analyze the information as objectively as possible. After you know the facts, then you could allow your feelings to follow. Number 4, name calling, or what is also known as ad hominem attacks. Unfortunately, we live in an era where mudslinging is commonplace. The debate ends the moment personal attacks are made. No one can defend themselves against being called a liar, a racist, a sexist, or a bigot. The moment unsupported claims like this are made, be able to recognize them, to be able to point them out, and give those things little weight. Number 5, sensationalism or hyperbole. Sometimes media personalities will use terminology to intentionally exaggerate their message. Look out for words like always, never, everyone, nobody. There are very few things in this world where these words can be correctly applied. If hyperbole is being used, ask yourself why. The media understands that if they catastrophize or overgeneralize, their ratings will go up. Number 6, steering your thinking. Media personalities will say things like, you should be outraged, or this should break your heart. In order to lead your thought process, they do this. They want to steer how you perceive a story so that you believe what they want you to believe. The best way to avoid this is to put yourself in the story and metaphorically walk in the shoes of everyone who's involved. You will often find that these stories are more complicated than the reporter would have you believe. And lastly, all or nothing thinking, number 7. No person is all good or all bad. In the same way, no incident is ever as clean-cut as someone would have you believe. People are complex, and the stories that are being communicated are not usually black and white. Try to see each person and event through various perspectives, particularly through the eyes of those who you would tend to disagree with. I also have 3 things that I think is important to do ourselves, things that we should do. Number 1, expose yourself to media outlets with different views. Do not just read or watch media outlets that only confirm your own biases. This will only make you more entrenched in your ideology and will limit your ability to understand differing views. If you watch CNN, also watch Fox News. If you watch OAN, also watch MSNBC. If you like the Young Turks, spend some time listening to Ben Shapiro. There are not many media outlets that are completely unbiased, so the best course of action is to expose yourself to all sides and seek the truth out in the midst of all the spin. Real Clear Politics and allsides.com are good places to start if you don't know what sources to look for. Number 2, be a questioner. Do not just take someone's word for it. There's the old adage, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Know what you believe and why you believe it, but always keep an open mind. Being willing to change your mind can be a sign of maturity and humility. If you do not know something, don't be afraid to say, I don't know. But be willing to put the work in to research a topic so that you can defend your positions when necessary. And lastly, number 3, speak with people who you disagree with. This is a big one. Unfortunately, we have become more siloed in our relationships. We often create the proverbial echo chambers by only associating with those who think like us. Make a point to build relationships with people who have different political, social, and religious views than you. This is the only surefire way to build tolerance. You will find that in the end, we're all human, and we have more in common than the differences we tend to focus on. These things that I laid out will take work and intentionality, but the reward is that you can truly be a free thinker. With so much access to information, we cannot afford to be lazy in our thinking. In a free society like ours, being informed is the best tool that we have to defend ourselves against those who would seek to manipulate and control us for personal gain. I want to close with a scripture from Ephesians chapter 4, verse 14. If we apply these concepts that I mentioned, then we will no longer be infants tossed back and forth by the waves and blown here and there by every wind of teaching and by the cunning and craftiness of people in their deceitful scheming. I hope this helps. If you like this video, like and subscribe for more videos like this. Also hit the little bell icon so that you can be informed when I post new content. But thank you so much for watching, and God bless.